Welcome into another episode of the 419. It's hard to believe we're already winding down our first full year of podcasts, and it's been so awesome having you along for the ride the whole way. Thanks to our sponsors, Wheatro Wealth Management, Tim Wheatro, Wes Allen, the whole team. You guys have been fantastic. We love having you here as a part of the show, and we've got huge news for our other sponsor. After decades of supporting local businesses as the Employers Association, Ohio's premier HR, wellness, and professional development provider, they're now rebranding as WorkSpring. WorkSpring is launching a redesigned website, updating its visual branding, and improving technology to simplify the experience for current and prospective members. Congratulations to Megan and the team at WorkSpring, and we are proud to welcome WorkSpring to the 419 family. Now let's get to today's episode.
How is everybody?
I'm good.
I'm also good.
I stopped at my mom's today. I got her some cookies, and I stopped over there. And
Did you hit your head on the garage door again?
I did not.
Okay.
But I told her we were recording the pod. And she's like, oh, who's your guest? So I told her who my guest was. And then she said, well, who's the second one? I said, well, we don't know who.
Does she not listen to the podcast?
This proves one of two things. That she doesn't listen or that she doesn't listen. And so I said, no, we don't know who the second guest is. And she says, well, how are you able to prepare? And I'm like, you're missing the entire
I do also get
You're
people-
missing the entire microphone.
I do get
Yes.
people that are like, no, but you can tell me. I won't tell anybody. I was like, no, I actually don't know. I'm like, no, I know, but. I'm like,
Oh, you mean that like we're
like
kidding?
I'm
Like
holding
we
out
don't.
on them. Yeah.
Can't
I mean,
they
I
tell?
will-
Do they think this would be the podcast if we were prepared?
Well, this would be the podcast if you were prepared.
I will say there are
I
moments when I listen to
Plus, I can't read it.
when I listen to Smartless, and I think like,
Yes.
I wonder if like they're all really good actors. We are not. Well,
Right.
I am not. I
Yeah.
won't speak to you guys. That like I couldn't pull that off. That fake like I didn't know you were coming in. But let me ask you this highly detailed, researched question.
Yeah.
But they sometimes I'm like, did they know and they just pull it off? I don't know.
Well, it does seem to be again the Smartless pod that we totally stole our thing from.
Yeah.
Whoever has the guest does seem to be a little bit more prepared. Like the other
And
two
they're
were,
smart,
Yeah.
and that helps.
Yeah, that does help.
We don't have a lot of
And
that.
we can't
Yeah.
make up for that.
No.
It is amazing.
And they're charming.
It is amazing how smart
They
like
have friends.
Agreed.
how smart the three of them are. And I listen to
Will Arnett the most, I think.
Oddly, I agree.
Yeah.
can we Dax Shepard?
Yeah.
Like separate podcast.
I don't like him.
I don't care.
I don't.
Oh.
Jesus. Let's just get the guest.
Coming in hot. Coming in hot.
So I single-handedly have been trying to count episodes
Yes.
all year.
So good.
And I believe that this is potentially episode number 23.
Okay.
That's right.
And it's so cool. So we started this wanting to do one podcast a month.
Period.
Right?
One only.
Yeah, that's a one only. Yeah.
Right.
We didn't know if we'd make it through
Yeah.
the whole year. So Matt, how many podcasts would that have been if we
If
did
what?
one per month?
For how long we've been doing it?
Yeah.
12.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't a trick question.
So
was it?
when we finish our year, about halfway through the year, we jumped to 2
Yes.
podcasts a year. But because Gretchen has been throwing us around live,
Yeah.
we're going to finish the year with 24 podcasts.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And people haven't like
We're not
run us over
listened.
with their cars. Or... So this is our second to last recording of the year. Is
That's
what you're
right.
saying. Okay, so our surprise guest for our second to last episode of the year is a woman.
Okay.
She's from a pretty famous Toledo family. There's like her dad and uncles, and there's some pretty famous, particularly Toledo related.
Erin Baker.
University of. God damn it, Matt! How did you know that?
I just knew it.
Erin, come out.
Is it really? Oh my goodness.
Did you see her coming up?
No,
and stuff?
I promise I didn't see her coming out.
I mean, that was, I mean, that was impressive. To the extent that,
Erin,
hello.
You know Kevin. Erin, Matt has literally, that has never happened in 23 episodes that we've guessed the person.
I've never said the person out loud
No.
Yeah.
But like,
for the entire time.
can we go back and just recap just a live replay
Yes.
of how little
Woman.
information Gretchen
right.
gave
Woman
out?
in famous Toledo family.
And we're trying to pretend to the audience that we didn't know in
Matt,
advance who
yeah,
it
and
was.
kinda like
And then you
you
just
are
jumped that
covered.
Oh,
early.
Erin, let's
Erin,
be
we're going to
critical.
need
You've
you
been
to
here for
confirm
5 seconds.
that you've never talked to Kevin or Matt about this.
No, not
Okay.
at all. Not
Okay.
at all.
Well, the next thing I was going to say is that you were at the Toledo Lucas County Public Library
Yeah,
For-
you would have definitely.
a long time.
No, I did get it.
You got it already.
And then I was going to say you're now the Director of Development and Engagement as Mommy Valley Habitat for Humanity. So Erin Baker.
Hi.
Welcome.
you.
Welcome to the pod. So tell us first about your new position. It's relatively new.
Yeah.
And that's at Mommy Valley Habitat for Humanity. Tell us what you're doing there, what you love about it.
Yeah. I'm officially like 5 months old at least in this position. I've been working with them in some capacity as a volunteer for 6 years now.
I didn't know
so,
that.
yeah, a lot of people don't know that, but I am the director of development and engagement for Mommy Valley Habitat for Humanity. And so what does that mean? It means a lot more than I think I knew I signed up for, but that's
Always.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
totally cool. So I have a wonderful team of folks that oversee all of our events, all of our fundraising, as well as all of our volunteers and marketing as well too. So it is like a whole multi-department, but we're just one department. It's a beautiful thing that, you have 37 people that are super passionate about our mission and are able to ignite the whole community around that mission too, that rally specifically to ensure that everyone has access to, because we truly believe everyone deserves a decent place to live.
And that is the
Everyone.
mission, right?
That is our mission.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
How many homes does Habitat build a year?
So on average, we do about 7 homes a year. And it's funny because I think a lot of people, especially coming off of Jimmy Carter's 100th birthday last week, everybody think about...
He was a president.
Yeah, yes, he was.
Really?
You're on a
Yeah.
roll today,
Yeah, well, I just
Matt.
want to make sure they know. Yeah. Sure.
Is he our next?
I
Is
got
he
it
our
right
next
now.
guest?
Yeah. He's been coming up the stairs. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so, we are known for building homes, but in actuality, we do a ton of other stuff too. Specifically here in Toledo, we are very proud to have partnered with the city of Toledo to really ensure that we're pumping in dollars. Last year, $11.7 million in community revitalization. So since 2016, we've replaced over 400 roofs, specifically in Junction, Inglewood, East Toledo, and South Toledo. And just since 2021, we've revitalized 21 homes in those areas as well. So that's abating lead and getting every single one of those homes up to code. And so while very important in those areas, even more important because I don't think people will realize in those areas, it's a high percentage of home ownership.
Yeah.
There's folks that have been passing along homes from generation
That's
to
right.
generation in those areas.
Aaron, talk to me even on a real granular level, when you
Yeah.
talk about replacing roofs,
$20,000 annually.
and let people know the roofs that you're replacing have holes in them. These are not roofs.
So these are truly, when I say we're bringing them up to code, it's like we're bringing them up to a livable standard.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's really important. I think that
yeah.
people don't have, and myself included, would
Yeah.
not have an understanding of what the standard is. Kevin, can I just ask one question? Just right. I mean, I said the Carter thing. She interrupted the joke.
I didn't even do anything.
I know what you're.
It was
about
the
to-
hand
You're
motion.
right. It
Yeah.
was coming.
Yeah.
So please tell me. Finish the roof thought. It takes as much time as you'd like.
Yeah. but I'll give you an example. This past summer, we replaced the roof of a gentleman that was gifted by a local roofing company. We replaced the roof of a gentleman who was a veteran and a senior, meaning the notion of replacing his roof would completely wipe out his fixed income, right? Any
Yeah.
savings he had, right? This gentleman was actually sleeping on his first floor on his couch because the leak, specifically the hole in his bedroom, was leaking on his bed. So yeah, we're not talking about for cosmetics or
That's
just
right.
for greater efficiency. It is to bring it up to a livable standard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's the funding? You guys obviously fundraise in the community, partnership with CDBG and other funds like that?
Yeah, absolutely. But most importantly, we are very fortunate to be able to partner with so many local entities. So Owens Corning is actually an international partner with Habitat for Humanity International, and we actually partner with them locally on top of that. So every single one of the roofs that we do has Owens Corning shingles. They beg, borrow, and steal for those shingles for us all across the country.
Aaron, how handy are you?
I
don't.
Do they let you touch anything related to the house?
Yes, because I have actually
do you do at
done.
your house?
I've actually
Tell me about
done
your house.
my house.
Yeah,
my
what-
house is pretty cool.
Yeah.
In my house, let's talk about other things that Habitat does. My house, because I love vintage furniture, is like outfitted with stuff from Restore. So Restore,
I love
helps-
the
Yeah, I
Restore.
love Restore. Please, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I mean, also to shout out to the local vintage people that are flipping the things out of Restore that we see that you're marking up 5 times. But it's
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah,
Come
right.
and buy our stuff because
Right,
it goes
and
back
people
into
do?
the community.
Yes, ma'am.
It's all good. But yeah, my house is half.
Tell me your
Restore
favorite
stuff,
piece
too.
in your house right
The
now.
favorite piece in my house is a Habitat for Humanity 1970s lime greenish green yellowish burnt golden
The
crest.
show's only an hour, Aaron.
Sorry, I could go on and on.
Yeah, no,
and
clearly.
it's a sectional. It's great
Oh,
for
cool.
napping.
Oh,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Are you a napper?
Oh, yes.
That's my
Are
girl.
you not?
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely.
No.
I nap during this show.
I just don't usually wake up, so I tend to going to bed at 4 p.m. Is that depression? I'm not. Is our next guest a psychiatrist by any chance?
Yeah.
And
Erin,
can
let's
only
go
hope.
back a little bit. I referenced
About
your
Gretchen's
famous.
depression.
Yeah. What do you think the symptoms of depression are?
Yeah. Tell me how many times I should smile during a
This
day.
has turned into a whole other show.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go back and talk a little bit about this famous family of yours.
Yeah.
That's
Tell
how
us
I
about
knew it was
that.
Erin.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, not that-
How did you know?
Well, I looked at your sheet.
I knew it.
No, I didn't. I don't know. It was a guess. The first thing you said, and then I did have the privilege of sitting with your family. So, and they immediately left. But for the brief time we were together,
They were like,
I was
this guy's
"Shut
gonna
up."
take our name recognition
I
down.
I don't know your family.
Yeah, let's talk about.
Sure.
I mean, maybe I do.
Jimmy
You
Carter.
should. I think.
Oh.
I think you
As
probably
the voice
did.
of the Rockets.
Jimmy
you
Carter.
should.
I know it doesn't.
Yeah.
They don't look a lot alike, but they're smart. Yeah,
I mean, very distant cousin.
that's right. Please.
So yeah, I come from a lot of people know my one side of my family, the Bakers. You know, my dad is the youngest of 6, and there is a whole stack of them that all graduated from University of Toledo, played football. My dad played for the 35-0 team, and he was actually very recently the very first Black president of the board at the University of Toledo.
How about
so
that? Awesome.
yeah, which is
Any
awesome.
pressure as a kid? Or
Actually, no. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm
just
the
all
youngest.
loving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the youngest of 3. Both of my brothers also went to University of Toledo and played sports as well, football and basketball too. So I actually felt no pressure.
I mean, she just got her MBA from the University of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure there.
I mean, honestly,
step
I
on your own
didn't.
crust.
My mom talks about how, so there's a big age gap. My brothers are 7 and 9 years older than me. And she said, even when I was little, I used to boss them around. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
No, we're friends. I believe it.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure you do believe that.
Yeah. No, I can see it. You don't
And-
say.
Yeah, and so yeah. I mean, I spent a lot. At one point in time, I worked at the University of Toledo, and so I talked often when I would meet with students and go on admissions trips and recruiting
Yeah.
students in. I talked about how I grew up on that campus because
Yeah.
I mean, I was like in 3rd grade going to football games my whole
Where was
life.
home? Where'd you grow up in the city?
So I grew up here in Toledo, Hill and Reynolds
Yeah.
area. So it's funny because I know with me working in housing now, I know like that importance of neighborhood and community. And when I think about like the radius of blocks of like the Black families that grew up around me, so many attorneys, judges. And so it reminds me so much of like the importance of representation around you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
had it in my family, but I mean, I couldn't go across the street with, not only important people to look up to, but people that would tattle on me
Jason.
too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
Thank you for using the word tattle. This is a children's show.
Watching habitats around the country,
Yeah.
the shift is increasingly getting away from building a single house.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's more and more about building community and neighborhoods
Absolutely.
and
Block by
lifting up
block.
communities.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Block by block. I like
Yes,
that.
yes.
But I think that's a really cool that, you had the chance to sort of see that and be a part of that. And I love that Toledo is catching up to that, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
these things start in big cities and they eventually make their way here.
Yeah,
But I'm
absolutely.
seeing it here.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be more excited when I saw the announcement that you were who they selected. I went out to had coffee with Erin, your boss,
Yeah,
the other
Erin
Erin.
McPartland, yeah.
Is there like 17 of them now at Habitat?
Yeah, we joke that we only hire Aaron's.
Yeah. But I told Erin, so when I saw it, I really believe that opportunity was in the fundraising space in our community, one of the top openings that we're going to have in a long time. Because there's such an opportunity to define a sort of a new future for an organization
Yes.
and with a new CEO that is the former development director,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's rare to have somebody who gets it
Yes.
in that seat. And so I just, when I saw the announcement, I was super excited.
Yeah.
For you to be able to connect, sort of going back to your first experience with Habitat
Yeah.
to now, is it the same organization?
100%. So I got recruited to come out on a women build, actually, by a
Same.
board member. Right. And ironically, at that time, women build wasn't necessarily about the woman homeowner. It was just about women coming together on a build. So we actually were building for a homeowner from Lot Industries. He was a very quiet gentleman, but it was okay because we were twice as loud, and he was just happy to have us there, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm gonna say this: I was definitely duped. I was told I was painting, but I ended up ripping up floors that day, and so I know from the inside now, you don't tell people.
So
on
the
the
code, if
outside.
someone asks you to go volunteer and that you're going to paint,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I know better now.
Or
It's
any-
not,
yeah.
You just don't tell people the scope of work. You just say, "Oh, you're going to volunteer your
Right.
time."
Right.
I found that in job descriptions also.
Yeah.
There's significantly less painting that happens.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But everyone's going to paint
That's
for
right.
3 straight days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
And so that very first time, I got to hear the homeowner story. I got to hear the why for everyone that showed up that day as well. And I immediately was hooked and had to come back year after year. And that's been the case every year. I've done actually a build on my birthday, and every year I get more and more people that come out with me. And, it's infectious because you're able to see not only directly the homeowner working side by side with them to have them help them build their home, but then you get invited back to see their blessing, to see how much that help. And so it's just a really beautiful full circle. And it
In
is.
your declining age, do they just put your chair close to the build so you can see?
We will take anybody.
Yes,
okay?
ma'am. All right.
I've said I believe that every first-time homeowner
Yes.
should volunteer at Habitat.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you've got experts that are there making sure you don't screw anything up.
Yeah,
But you get a
100%.
chance to sort of get hands-on and be a part of it. And oh, by the way, it's also a great organization.
Great.
Yeah.
And it's a great opportunity to give back. And it's beautiful because our homeowners, I think a lot of people think we just give them the homes, but no, they have to put in 250 hours of sweat equity hours.
I didn't know that.
And that includes not only helping on their site, but also learning what it is to be a good homeowner. We all joke that they
Yeah, I
are
could use
better
that.
homeowners than
Yeah,
us.
certainly.
Like, I don't know how to do half the stuff. They
Yeah.
they know how to patch up drywall, check their
Now, what's
furnaces.
drywall?
Like,
Yeah.
right. Like,
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Like,
Yeah.
they need to come to my house and help me.
Yeah.
Like, So we often talk about, that yes, we make it affordable in terms of that 0% interest rate to fit within their budget, but they.
Our show has 0% interest.
I hope that
was a good one, Matt.
I need your charity.
I think you do.
I carry this show. Erin, can we talk a little bit about the infrastructure of Habitat itself? It is
Sure.
a purposefully lean organization.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who makes up this small but mighty group of people?
Yeah, so we have as Kevin just talked about, we have our
I didn't listen to a thing
executive
you said.
director, Erin McPartland, and she has been in the role for 7 months, I believe.
Oh.
And she was promoted from my role as a development and engagement director into that role with the announcement of our 10-year Mike McIntyre's, not retirement. He went on to start a new business with his brother, actually bought back the business that he grew up, that his father owned at one point in time. And so it's pretty exciting. It is, this notion of like being under a woman's owned run organization. While, we are open to all homeowners, a lot of the folks that we work with in terms of home ownership is women, lots of times single mothers. So it is a really beautiful thing. We are very lean in that, like I said, I have 4 departments more or less underneath me because each of those departments is one person, but it's all good. But we do also have a programming side, and they work directly with our homeowners. And we also have a community engagement manager, and she works directly with the community. And so because of her relationships with the various community organizations and neighborhood groups, we do things like rock the blocks in each of those 4 neighborhoods in Junction, Inglewood, Old South End, and East Toledo. And it's really them telling us what they need, because who are we,
That's right. Yeah.
But most importantly, they worked with those homeowners to help us come together and identify 10 to 15 projects. We bring 50 to 100 volunteers, and we
That's
do
amazing.
light
Wow.
work, light repair work, landscaping for about 3-4 hours. And then we have a party in one of the city parks immediately after. And it's a great time. And it's really important because it's really bringing back kind of that pride back in the neighborhoods. Because oftentimes, not only are those places that we are rehabbing, lots of times with seniors who can't, upkeep because of the financial burden, they also can't upkeep their yards. But at one point in time, they could.
Yeah.
But doing that big kind of stuff that was out of hand for them, they're able to maintain it with the help of neighbors. And once we kind of do that big job for them in the summer.
So let's go back just a little bit. You said you grew up in Toledo. You went to St. Ursula?
Yes.
Okay, we'll forgive you for that. Where did you go to undergrad?
For undergrad, I went to Northwestern in Evanston, and for grad
Real
school,
underachiever.
Yeah.
that's And
Gretchen,
then-
how much research did you do for your guest?
I wrote things down. CSS intersection.
Yeah, say hello, make eye contact. Yeah, this is good.
Pretend to be
Yeah,
human.
so undergrad, I went to Northwestern in Evanston, and for grad school, I went to Notre Dame. So,
Jesus Christ.
And then did you come right
I'm
back to
out.
Toledo after that?
so
Do you
actu-
fall a lot, or what do you do badly? Anything? Are you a bad speller?
So
Something. There's got to be something.
I know. At some point, I know Matt's gonna bring up running. I know this is coming. So
I was gonna bring it up.
And I was like, I should have ran this morning, so he would.
I'm a loving, supporting friend.
I know you are. You
Yeah.
are. But
It's not showing so far.
yeah, it's,
Well, I'm
it's
warming
cool.
to it.
But we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So Northwestern, I was, like I said, I was an anomaly. The whole rest of my family went to UT, and I didn't want to go to UT.
You had to be the rebel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wanted
yeah.
to get away, and I got into University of Michigan, and my family tried to bribe me. They would give me a car if I went to U of M if I could, but then they messed up and said something like, "Oh, you're 45 minutes away. We can drop in." And I was like, "Oh no,
Yeah,
that's
sure.
out."
Yeah.
But you could have worn the blue and yellow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I get a car, but you're going to come visit all the time.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm going to need to use it to get away.
Get away.
Let's talk more
Yeah.
about this terrible family you
Yeah.
have.
So needless to say, I went to Northwestern because I grew up in a sports-minded family. It was super cool because I went to all the Big Ten games.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Are you a football fan?
I am.
Yeah.
So I got to see chairs being thrown at the Hoosier Indiana Northwestern
basketball game?
game. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was super cool.
When you say got to see them,
I was literally
I mean you were as you were throwing them?
No, like the coach at the time was very well known for throwing chairs.
Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight.
Oh.
And I got to see that firsthand.
Okay.
In the student section, so that was pretty cool. I mean, just little traditions that, even though at the time we didn't necessarily have the greatest track record and wins, but it still, I got to see some really great teams play.
It's such a great community. The whole community
Yeah.
around Northwestern, the whole
Yeah.
city of Evanston. I
Yeah.
mean, not even to mention Chicago, but it's
Yeah.
such a great place. It would
Yeah.
be such a great place to go to school. Right?
Yeah, it was a ton of fun because I got that for coming from Toledo. I got that kind of smaller, tight knit, because it's much smaller than going to Ohio State or something like that.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, early on in undergrad, I went into the city and I would tutor or do things with the YMCA. For one of my classes, I went and was a judge for mock trials for a high school in inner city Chicago. So I learned that big city life and things like that. So that was pretty cool. But actually, I worked for an immigration law firm right after undergrad. I thought I was going to be an attorney. I've never told you this.
I didn't know
Yeah,
this.
so I thought I was going to be an attorney, and my
You
mom
made a wise choice. I think.
and my parents were like, "Why don't you work for a law firm?" So I mean, this should have been the first sign. So on 9/11, I was actually in the Sears Tower
Oh my gosh.
interning for a big law firm on the 72nd floor. So I walked down that day
Because they
evacuated all
Yeah.
of downtown Chicago. The L was completely free to everyone to get everybody out. So that should have been the first sign.
Yes.
Don't go to law school.
Don't go. That would be foretelling.
Yeah, and then, but then I still thought that's what I wanted to do. So I actually worked for a really small law firm that was directly across the street from the Chicago INS office. And I think what did it for me was I was helping a gentleman one day, and he brought in a catalog of mail order brides, and I was like, "Yeah, this might not be for me."
He wanted you to help him pick.
And yes, yes, more or less what would fit his budget between the
Oh my
filing
gosh.
fees and getting this.
I can tell you,
woman.
I've been practicing for 20
Yeah.
years, and I've never had to
Awesome.
help someone
Fantastic.
do that. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So I vaguely remember getting the Sears catalog in the mail.
Yeah,
Is
same.
that it?
And it was a binder, and they where pictures were in sleeves. Yeah, it was
I
crazy.
can't-
I always
Cannot fathom
assumed
this.
that, I mean, this is honest. I actually always assumed that, mail order bride was just
a term.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't
I
literally
did too
know
until that moment. At least this was in
Cut enough cereal box tops and mail them
in
into.
2001. It was a thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's not that long ago. Do
Okay.
you know if he ever actually picked someone?
So apparently, I later found out this was his second.
You guys are now
go-round.
engaged.
No, this was the second go round.
How long
the
have
first
you
time
been
it fell
married?
through. Anyway, we won't talk more about that because that's
funny.
I'm interested. You going Northwestern to Notre Dame,
Yeah.
And then coming back and working at the University of Toledo,
Yeah.
right? And I work at UT in athletics.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I'm constantly fascinated about how you build that campus culture.
Were you driving back from Evanston and just thought, I can't go home yet. I'm just going to stop at South
No,
Bend?
so like it's funny because actually I was working Chicago INS and made the decision that like I was ready to come back because I didn't want to go to law school and I needed to figure something out, right? And so I actually came back and I taught at a charter school for a year. And
Here in Toledo?
Here in Toledo. The charter school system, I don't believe is in existence anymore. But I actually not only taught and substitute taught, I actually helped them build their preschool program too. And it's really weird because I'm old enough now that some of those kids, like I see,
Oh my
like
God.
it's wild.
They can drink now?
Like, yeah, it's crazy. And so that was a cool experience, but I definitely knew that wasn't, I mean, I think my undergrad degree was in communication. So I knew like that was super helpful for me to thinking on my toes and also really having a good understanding of like in a classroom, how much a teacher has to balance like the wide spectrum of like needs and be able to
Like social work.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was very much so. And obviously has really prepared me later on in my work. And so then I went and worked at OI. And I, again, because I had this legal like experience, I was working in asbestos litigation in the legal department at OI. So I was handling cases from a 10-year period of 1948 to 1958 when OI and Owens Corning were all one organization. And when OI broke off, and, you know, as we all know what Owens Corning had to go through because of the asbestos litigation, they had to file bankruptcy. OI was still in the early 2000s settling a lot of those claims. And so I really worked with those claims. And my caseload was primarily on the West Coast. So I got to go out to San Francisco a lot,
wow.
which was pretty cool because there was a lot of cases out there because of the many shipyards out in that area. But I knew I didn't want to do that forever. And OI at the time had a relationship with Notre Dame. My brother actually had previously when working at Owens Corning also had graduated in the late 90s, early 2000s. He has his MBA from Notre Dame as well. So I had some exposure. So I just reached out and I ended up getting into the executive MBA program a year after Obama was the inaugural.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know. I just missed it. Anyway, so and so I worked full time at OI while I was at Notre Dame. And so eventually how I got from there, from corporate America to UT was because that 2-year period that I was at Notre Dame, the motto of Notre Dame's MBA program was educating the heart and the mind. And so I already was like very like civic minded, community service minded. And that just like blew me even more in the water of like, what more can I do? I had started to help in other areas. Eventually when I left OI, when I started to teach, it was because I had a relationship with that school program and they were doing a mentoring program. And so I helped expand their mentoring program across 3 locations. And I also helped them build small libraries. So, I mean, I have all this interesting cross-sectional,
Yes,
which
you
like
can
led
see-
me from one job to the next.
I was
You can
going to
see how
say,
it all comes
it's
together.
like,
Yeah.
it's if I'm Erin McPartland, your
Yeah.
boss, I'm going to pay very close attention to what you do.
Yeah.
Because if you start passing out free meals or something like that, I'm just like shutting Wendy Huntley down and saying, you can't have her, stay away, right? Like, get her away from Connected Kids to Meals. It's interesting how that happens.
Yeah, because and basically when I was in that mentoring program, we contracted with the University of Toledo, and we had some of grad students that we paid for assistantships. So that's how my first relationship, like on the working side, was with UT. And from there, the natural progression was I then started working at University of Toledo in residence life, doing project management and programming there.
So talk to me about that culture piece, right? So the
Yeah.
on-campus culture at Notre Dame, the on-campus culture
Yeah.
at Northwestern.
Yeah.
Toledo doesn't have that, and I'm curious as to how we get it, right?
Yes.
As a largely commuter campus.
Yeah, so
you
it's-
worked there.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because it's been 10 years ago when I worked there, and I was in residence life, and I know it was a very different time then because, there wasn't, because right now I think you can opt out for that 2-year live on requirement for local.
So they don't have that?
That they do have that.
Oh.
You can opt out. You don't have to
Okay,
do the
okay.
2-year
If you live
mandate.
within a certain radius.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then, and obviously COVID and online classes has a huge impact. But I know for me and like the work that I went on to do beyond once I left UT, I'm very close with Dr. at the time, Dr. Kay Patton Wallace. I tell her all the time, like, UT cut my teeth because the notion that I could bring 1,000 some odd students on campus, I can do programming for new student, I can do multi-thousands of people programming in my sleep now. Like, it's easy, but the notion that that's gone away, because that is, at least for me, I don't know about you all, that's so much part of being a college student. Even if you're a commuter, that during those first 16 weeks coming on campus and getting connected with other people and being a part of that community is so huge.
There's so much going on right now. My niece just started at the University of Colorado, Boulder, and you see these, I think in part because I talked to her about it and text her, but I then, anytime you even barely think of something, you start getting TikToks and reels about it. But there's all of this stuff on social media now since school has started where these kids are at these schools and they're set up in their dorms and they're depressed.
Yeah.
And they want to come home and they can't make these connections and they don't have anything to do. And it's like videos of them that they're posting.
Yeah.
Crying.
Yeah.
And then there's all these other videos with these tips. Like if you're in your room, you only have 13 hours of class, right? But if you're in your room other than to sleep, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
like you
100%.
Need to be. But
Yes.
these kids also the ones that are
These
in
are the high
college
school
now,
kids that were virtual.
They were virtual during
Yeah.
COVID. And so
Yeah.
my nephew's roommate is at college living in the dorm doing all virtual classes.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, but they're really having struggles wanting to stay there,
Yeah.
wanting to stay in that environment and connecting with other people that they're now in this environment with.
For me, I think about my college experience, and I've told people I didn't know that University of Toledo had grass on their campus until I was a junior in college at Miami.
Wow.
Right? I grew up here. I was on campus all the time for sporting events.
Yeah.
But I never saw grass. And so I didn't realize how beautiful that
So you
campus
not only
is.
didn't see grass, you didn't see the deer that often come together in the middle of campus.
None of it. I missed it all. But I also didn't have any idea some of the really strong academic programs they had.
Yes.
And so I overlooked that. So I went to, same thing. I went 4 hours away for the same rationale that I was like, all right, it's far enough away that cookies arrive the next day.
right.
But my parents are going to call before they drive up. Right.
And
And
they're gonna
so
make sure you're home.
Yeah. And so I fear that if I had gone to Toledo, living here in Toledo, that I would have stayed home and I wouldn't have made those relationships. And I got a degree in communications. I think that gave me a degree in a little bit of everything.
That's right, yep.
But more so, it was those campus activities and those relationships and running programming and being the president of a programming board and those kind of things that gave me so much of the experience outside of the academic space.
100% agree.
That I'm looking going, how do we flip that script, right? I heard the president, the interim president at UT say, we got to stop our students from going down to Bowling Green to party. How do we get them to do it here? There isn't that. Miami's got, Uptown. Northwestern has Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, we had a bar in Evanston, too, that we frequented as well.
Are you seeing that lack of connectivity or lack of interest in participating in community things at Habitat, or did you see it at the library? Since COVID, is there a decrease in that kind of community engagement?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general that people it's like they have to be like enticed back out, And so I think with the library, I'm so fortunate that we started to partner with other entities, and that's what helped us bring like our little pocket of people that weren't too afraid to socialize out with other people.
What was your role at the library?
I was the director of equity, diversity, and inclusion. And so partnering with the other directors, like right now, like the libraries, like Kathy Selking does an amazing job with like the concerts that they do. I'm still involved very much with the City of Toledo Human Relations Commission. So the welcoming picnic, like you're still seeing like this really large number of people that are coming out and connecting because they feel like it's a safe place, right? But then you have like these college students, their safe place is their rooms. And
I fear that their safe place is their cell
phones too, right? And so what I do appreciate is that I do still see them at games. which is awesome, which is great. But I know for us at Habitat, even what we've been trying to do is engage with the university to get students to come out for us. Because we do see like UT still has that really the big event, which is around community service. These students still are very much community service oriented. You know, I still believe that the fraternities and sororities are still thriving, but they definitely believe in a bigger cause than themselves. But just the notion of like coming out and like having meetings, like I see that in non-cop, like,
yes,
I have to meet in person.
Yes,
we can't do
exactly.
this in Zoom. Like, I don't understand
I'm guilty
this.
of that a little
And I
too.
get it, because I like to like be in my pajamas on the bottom and being in a meeting too.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I love that.
Exactly. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, you just brought up the Human Relations Commission, which is
Yeah.
how you first came into my orbit,
Yes.
if you will.
Yes.
When I first met you was when we forced you to become the chair of the Human Relations Commission.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about that. And you became chair rightfully so, and did an excellent job.
Christ.
And then every year she would try to say, well, I think this is my last year. And we're like, no, we don't think it is. We don't really think it's going to be
No
your
good
last
deed
year.
goes unpunished.
So talk a little bit about the
Yeah.
HRC.
Yeah, so HRC is this opportunity for, quite frankly, this amazing cross sector of individuals to come together to ensure that the city is safe, livable, and vibrant, specifically to overcome prejudice and ensure that we have mutual respect. It started about a year and a half, 2 years right before COVID, which ironically, before we knew, it was a very necessary thing, not only to ensure that people were still connected to one another and socializing, but that safety component too, around, unfortunately, like the escalating violence that we saw in community as well too. So we did a ton of stuff virtually, but we also still did things as they were safe, connecting them to them outside in community, in parks, which Metro Parks does the same thing. Like we were ensuring that people were safe, but we wanted to ensure that people were staying connected and for a purpose that were greater than themselves. One thing that we started 3 years ago, which Matt has been a part of, was Human Library.
So cool.
And Human
Such a
Library
great
has been
event.
amazing. You all have had a lot.
Some of our guests have been
Yes,
books.
Imam Deeb was an
Yeah. Well,
amazing.
he was okay.
Oh my,
Yeah.
no, he was amazing. He was
the
amazing.
only
He was
awards.
amazing.
Yeah. One of the least
so
checked
explain-
out books.
Yeah, so
Explain what
Human
that is.
Library is the opportunity for people to literally check out a person, ideally a person that you may not necessarily come in contact with them
right.
in your day-to-day life, and hear their personal story. Matt has shared his personal story. I've shared mine. Dougie Fresh, obviously we know him as this amazing photographer, but he was so open to sharing his journey to sobriety.
That's right.
And so the notion to be able to humanize some really difficult topics or things that people don't want to talk about in a time where people aren't socializing, in a time where the world is very divisive, Human Library has been amazing.
The Human Library made me realize how little I know about the
period.
people that are really close to me.
Yeah.
Also
yeah.
that too. Yeah.
I, at the risk of making you feel uncomfortable,
Sure.
one of the things that made me respect you so quickly was the HRC is full of a lot of real strong personalities and characters, right?
Yeah.
But Erin was like the UN, the peacekeeper of the peacekeeping group, right?
Yes.
I came to you personally on several times saying, how do I navigate this in the best way for everyone? And Erin said, by leaving. But
Get
I
out.
think
How many more times do you need to hear that?
so a testament to you, and this isn't a question, this is a statement, but the HRC, there's a couple people I know that you want to make mention of who are real freight carriers and leaders in that space, but man, top of having a heavy load for the community and your day job,
Yeah.
it isn't like you to put on a different hat, you just wear a different hat with even less trappings to make it something you want to do. So a lot of coffees with people, a lot of phone calls, listening, right? And then knowing what the other side was and making sure that people came to the middle for the community. I
Yeah.
guess then my question is, who did you get that from? What do you do when you want to put your head in a pillow and scream? Who was your personal HRC?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think for me, like, I have two parents who I think my people know my dad because he's been in all these different roles and things of that nature. Very charismatic, and also formerly worked for OI and was a global VP of HR. And so he very much knows how to like negotiate and has that swag about himself. But at home, I got to hear the full stories about things too, right?
Good.
And so then you have like the calm of my mother, who was an educator, a teacher, and principal, and very empathetic. And so
even her speach pattern is comforting.
And it comes from my grandmother, who like even.
Now, why don't you have that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because I got my
Can't
dad
have it
in
all.
me,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
So I think having grown up in that household, you know, that's kind of grounded me in my ability. And I also just, I fully recognize there's so many things I would like to do, but I cannot do them all by myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think like, that's a bit of like the identity crisis that Toledo has, is that everybody like wants to be the leader. They want to get the credit, but does it really matter if like you get the credit and you get the thing and you get the award and your impact is so small, when you could really have a whole group of amazing people to have this ripple effect? Because I want Toledo to be great long after I'm gone.
Yeah.
You
Man,
know?
if you could say that louder for the people in the back. Goodness gracious.
Well, that's a real tribute to your parents. I mean, your skill set is unparalleled by many. I mean, it truly is a gift to the HRC.
That's why I just spent a lot of time saying.
Right.
I think
Unlike
it's interesting
I just said that.
having a passion for something.
Yeah.
And being able to actually lead it and move other people to it are two very different things.
Yeah.
When did you figure out that you had that? Or do you just fake it till you make it?
I mean, I definitely be faking it till I make it, but
Let me tell you what that looks like.
I think for me, like when I was at OI doing the asbestos litigation stuff, right?
Ooh, how rewarding.
Right. And then I
was at Orange Corning or OI?
OI, Owens, Illinois. And I went from that space, and then I was in procurement for a period of time as well too. But then I was also getting my MBA in this amazing organization, MBA focused on giving back, very philanthropic and spiritually related.
Don't look at these two chimps.
It's
just
fine.
Look right at me.
And I kind of said to myself, okay, what excites me every day when I'm going to OI? And OI at that time had started to kick off their United Way Cares series where they were going out into community. And I was like, okay, why can I not align myself? And what I'm doing every single day is like truly filling me up. And so that's when I made that segue away from corporate America, because I was like, I can give a slice of myself, or I can like do on my own time, or I can bring it all together. And so like, when I do bring other people together to do other things, I often say to them, like, well, why are you here? What's the thing that fills you up? What makes you passionate? And that's really like this, like the secret sauce about HRC is like, you just get people to recognize, like, I'm trying to get you to a yes on the thing that you're really passionate about, but you can't have it all your way. But if you want to make this thing get closer to like the thing that's important to the community, this is how we kind of have to package it, you know?
It's really interesting to me the way you talk, talk about the choices that you've made in your career and the thinking that you put behind it, because I don't think that I have
Talk to Gretchen about her career.
Gretchen, this is an intervention.
This is how you do that.
The idea of, I mean, I've had people talk to me all the time about if I could just separate my passion, my heart from my 9 to 5, I'd make more money. But I can't find a way to do that, right? It just doesn't make sense to me. But I think it sounds like you actually went through that true exploration of like, hey, I'm here on this path and I could keep going here. But I got to get off this train.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there are some people very close to me that were like, you do realize you just graduated from Notre Dame and you left a Fortune 500 global company to go mentor kids in a charter school. Like, this is the smart thing to do. But I knew, like, I was at that fork in the road where I'm like, okay, I just got my MBA. I'm probably
you keep saying that. Like,
probably
we don't have one.
Gonna get this opportunity to like just make a lot of money. And once you start on that track to make a certain amount of money, there's like no turning back.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, I can't do this because I'm
is that
gonna
why
box
you've never
myself
gotten
in.
on that make a lot of money track?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I look, it's hilarious because there's
leader.
me that has my, here, I'm going to say it for you again. It's me that I have my Notre Dame MBA. And then I have my other brother who I just saw last week. He lives in Seattle. He also has his MBA from Notre Dame. But
how tall is he?
He's 6'7".
Yeah, cool.
And
is he single?
No, he's
it.
married.
Yeah.
2 kids. Anyway, he
didn't mean to say
and
that out
he is
loud.
Does she
literally
seem healthy?
he's the executive. Yes, she's very healthy. He's the executive director of a wealth management group.
come
So
on.
like clearly our paths from
Yeah.
Notre Dame are
Yes,
very
very
different.
different.
You know.
Well, my parents are also successful. End of common
And there's you.
common things.
Yeah.
Sometimes it skips a generation.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
When the family gets together, what
Yeah.
does that look like?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so actually, I do feel like I'm bragging, but that's okay. I can do that. So we'll all be
Seems to be
together
coming naturally
in
to
2 weeks, 3 weeks,
go ahead.
because my brother, who
Oh,
I just
boy.
saw
Here
out
we
in
go.
Seattle, Kevin Baker, is getting inducted into St. Francis's Sports Hall of Fame. So we'll
Wait,
be
Kevin
all
Baker?
Yes, so we'll be all together.
How old's your brother?
How old is he?
Yeah. 47.
No. How old is he? How old am I?
What year did you graduate?
Why are you looking up?
Because I'm doing
math.
math. I'm
Yeah.
doing the math.
Tell me about this MBA
I
program
know.
you
right,
allegedly
right.
graduated from.
I never said I
Aaron
was
is now
good.
looking to the skies
I
to do
never said I
to
could
count.
do math good.
You know that the M doesn't stand for math,
Right.
right?
Do math good. More of an English.
Yeah, so he will be 51 this year.
And what's your other brother's name?
Al, he's a junior.
Al Baker Jr.
Yeah.
Your
Okay.
brother was certainly in the ether when I became cognizant of high school sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he and I were closer in age, but we're a little farther apart.
Yeah.
So they do the ceremony here at St. Francis?
Yeah, so in order for you to actually be inducted, you have to come in town.
Does that make sense?
And so
cool.
yeah, so
Yeah.
he's coming in town with the.
That's
with
why
his
Gretchen has
kids.
stayed in town.
Yeah, to
to make her
ensure.
available for awards.
Waiting for the
In
phone
case
call.
anyone, yeah.
That's right. You need a
Hasn't.
stand-in?
I mean, I've won most of them already.
If you had gone to St. Ursula, you would have been inducted
That's
already.
Is that,
That's probably
is that
true.
shy of me
That's probably true.
about the awards?
I'm going to get so many phone calls from my St. Ursula friends. So excited about that.
100% you
Oh,
are.
I'm sure you're going to get so many calls.
Yeah.
Yolanda will be
Notre
the first
Dame-
one to call you.
Oh, absolutely.
Dame does
Yeah.
Right
Yeah,
to
I'm
the
in trouble for
microphone.
that.
They have the Distinguished Alumni Award, but I've missed the call. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
That's
why.
weird.
It's weird. It's odd.
Yeah.
So
Well, Verizon was
So
out.
you guys get together. Is it big meals? Is it
Oh,
loud
yeah.
and chaos?
Big
and
meals, loud and chaos,
cook?
tons of food. No, my boyfriend cooks. I
Yeah,
do not.
alright.
I just eat very
Yeah.
well.
Hell yeah.
I mean, but I literally like I said, my dad is the youngest of 6. My mom is the oldest of 7. So when all the family
Good
comes together,
gravy.
it's like
And you guys are
huge.
big.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
right, these are not little people. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, I have a cousin that lives down in Florida, but he's originally from the Michigan area, and so he got everybody together for the U of M. Typically, it's the Michigan State game when we
Yeah.
all get together, and so like that's insane. But then Michigan was getting whooped, so you know.
Well, they can't take the shine off your trophy from last year, so.
Yeah.
you-
I mean,
you won the
I
big
think
one.
they can.
Aaron,
They're
what's-
trying.
What is something that people listening to this pod would be surprised to learn about you?
Do you have an MBA? Do you have one?
I mean, I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I think a lot of folks, like when I left the library and went to Habitat, I think a lot of people were surprised about that. But I think also people did not know that I had the relationship with Habitat going back 6 years. But even like before Habitat, I had a relationship with Erin. I worked with her with bringing different women's groups and girls together to do things with Girl Scouts when she was the development director there. So a very long-standing relationship with her and her relationship with bringing back things in terms of programming to community members. So I think people should be surprised about that. And just that also, too, that I still like them still doing things in the library space, too. Just 2 weeks ago, I spoke at a library conference.
I saw that on your Facebook. Yeah,
And
cool.
so that's really cool to still be able to consult and speak at conferences, because I do love that work. And I mean, I think once you do diversity, equity, inclusion work, it never stops. And the more and more I've thought about it, it started well before I was in that position. I mean, even when I was in residence life at UT 10 years ago, I helped start a LGBTQ living learning community. It was the second in the state behind Ohio U. And so I've been doing this work for a really, really long time. And I mean, in providing affordable housing is diversity, equity,
No
inclusion
kidding.
work,
100%.
you know,
Yeah.
because again, everyone deserves a decent place to live.
Yep.
So
What do you do if you're trying to when you want to be like the most dumb, right? Like mindless,
You're
like
looking at it.
relaxing. Other than
I come on a
Other than this
podcast.
podcast.
right now.
I take one of you 3 idiots' calls.
So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a sucker for this mindless reality TV.
Yes.
Like I don't.
Tell me your
can't
favorite one right
think-
now. What are you watching
Below
right now?
Deck.
Oh, below deck.
I
I
knew
can
it.
like sleep to below deck, and it doesn't matter because if you wake up, it doesn't matter.
You can
It's
pick
like,
it up right
You
where
didn't-
4 hours ago.
You didn't
Just a
miss
body of water.
anything.
Right. Do you do the Housewives?
I do the Housewives.
How
Kardashians?
many have they?
Here and there, but I don't stick
Okay.
to it.
Yeah,
though.
you can. You
How
can.
many housewives have they had?
I don't even know.
There's 4 or 5 franchises. I don't know.
What do you
I've
mean, what's the
lost
franchises?
like the city.
The
Real
city.
Housewives of Atlanta.
Yeah,
Real
okay, well, don't
Housewives
get
of,
mad. This
yeah.
is
Yeah,
a legitimate
like,
question.
come
of New York. Real
I don't.
Housewives of
There is no conversation about the Real Housewives
Real Housewives
that can
of
be
Dubai.
determined.
Yes,
defined
I've
as
seen the Dubai
legitimate.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
A friend of mine actually did a whole like Housewives themed birthday before.
Do you watch any of the home improvement things as a reality shows?
I do. The one that used to really like make me mad was the tiny house one because then people would be like, "Oh, it's so tiny." It is. You're looking at tiny houses. What are you talking about?
I also like when they pan out and it's on the property of their parents. Who have like a $80 million mansion.
Right,
You're like,
right,
man,
right.
I can't.
That's a really
good
good
for
idea.
you. Yeah, we're paying no taxes. We just are out here roughing it. You can see the towels on their tiny house and the pools in the background. Like, man,
I've always wanted
How
there to
brave.
be like a spin-off of
Yeah.
all of these like house hunter shows where you actually like learn about the individuals and like what they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Because it's like, here's Joe and Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for their first ever home with
The
a budget of $2.5 million.
what's their budget?
and they've got
2.5.
$100,000 in
So-
cash.
so-
Yeah.
What?
So this is so funny. I heard you all talking about the notion of like it's legit. You don't know who's coming, right?
Yes.
But how other shows like
And sometimes
it
you're
is-
disappointed.
Yeah, it's okay. But some other shows like totally fake, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm gonna let you all know. I know somebody that's been on House Hunt. It's all
Seriously?
fake.
It is
It's
all-
all fake. It's all fake. Like you fill out an application and they're like, okay, cool. Once you like get to the point where you're about to buy a house, let us know you've been selected.
Yeah,
and
that
then
group
we'll-
is called Huntington. I like to buy houses and just leave them for young women across the state of Ohio.
and then like we'll create
Similar?
the whole like
We'll show you 2 other ones.
two other
that
ones,
you're never gonna
and
pick.
then like bring other friends, and we'll create a whole.
Well, I think all of them are they
Dialogue.
really that fake?
Yeah,
I think the
really.
home improvement ones too, because when I was buying my first house, my mom was watching these shows like constantly.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were looking, they're like, "Well, this house could really use a mudroom." She's like, "Matt can make a mudroom." I was like,
Yeah,
"What the fuck are
in
you
one
talking
day. In one day you could do it.
Yeah,
Do you
it's like, You
remember-
could watch one of the shows, and you could do
You can
electricity.
watch
I was
one
like,
of the
"What?"
shows.
Do you guys remember when Ty Pennington came to Toledo?
Yes, they did
Right?
it. They did a
Oh,
huge
yeah,
build
yeah.
with Owens
No.
Corning
Yeah.
and with Libby Glass.
Chad Pennington.
Ty.
Nope,
Ty.
not Chad. Ty.
They
Ty
did
Pennington from
a home makeover, whatever
Extreme
edition.
Home
that's
Makeover.
helpful. That's helpful, Gretchen.
Extreme
Yeah.
Home Makeover.
Yeah.
Toledo
Do
edition.
you all remember that show Trading Spaces?
Yes.
So my cousin is married to a former designer on that show.
All
And she
right.
too talked about how fake that was.
Sure. So is the Bar Rescue. There's a bar called the Arena. They did this too, and it's all the bars are not failing.
Are you
by and large.
serious?
And they just come in like, we're
man.
going to give you X.
I feel
to do.
duped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but that's okay.
Well, I think
That's
we've learned
okay.
something
Yeah,
from
exactly,
Erin,
right?
and that is that
Yeah.
these reality shows aren't true.
well,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
why we
it's-
watch.
Now,
it.
first of all, well said. Well,
That's why I
yeah.
watch them.
Yeah, who knew? That was reality shows? I was actually just watching, hanging out with some friends. It was halftime, and he flipped over to wrestling, and like I struggle with that because
That's
like
the original reality
It
TV.
is.
I
It
remember when I
is.
found that out. My dad told us right before, and he did do it to be cruel, because my dad's like cerebral, and I
No, that's
live in the house
Santa's
with him.
not real, right?
Yeah. What? No, he doesn't wrestle. It was right before. It was right before WrestleMania, like 1 or 2. He was like, "Yeah, these guys are pretty good, pretty athletic. It's hard to fake this." And I was like, "What?"
What?
Yeah.
When it first came out, it was huge.
Mm-hmm.
Not
First
like
came
it
out
is
was like
now.
the 50s.
No. When it first, like when you were a teenager or younger,
Okay.
school age,
when
that's
Vince
when it was like.
McMahon took it.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
people wouldn't believe that it was fake.
So I don't have a problem with my friends liking wrestling
Right.
as
Yeah.
entertainment.
As
Yeah.
a soap opera.
But
Yeah.
literally, I left his house at the end of the day going, I'm going to see him differently now.
yeah.
Because
Should have
the,
smashed a chair over his
I was
head.
just saying the same thing. After you smash a chair over your head.
But the joy that comes from, and so I have no problem with you saying, I love this, I love the performance of it, I love the showmanship, love this. But when you talk about it as though it's real.
Yeah.
It's
I
no
do-
different than us talking about the Housewives. I mean, it's just
Yes.
as
Well,
fake.
the wrestling
Yes.
portion is similar. I do think it's like also like how easy it is to just inflame us, right? So let me get this straight. The Sergeant Slaughter, who was a former military sergeant or current, is going to fight Nikolai Volkov, a Russian, in the heart of the Cold War. And Nikolai Volkov cheats. You're like, God damn that guy. Right?
Never saw that
you get all
coming.
fired up. Nikolai Volkov is like the Polish guy that from New Jersey. You're
like,
USA. That's right, exactly
Oh
right.
my gosh.
Like the documentary Rocky IV. I don't know if you've seen it.
If you were a professional wrestler,
Yes,
my
yes.
gosh.
what would your name be?
NBA.
MBA.
Yeah,
That's good.
What does that stand for, Matt? What is
well,
MBA?
you get to decide.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mother Baker something.
Thanks, Gretchen.
You're welcome.
That's right.
Matt, how about have you
The
thought,
podcast assassin.
or maybe this? It's like the walk-up song. Maybe we'll go that. You use not your
yeah.
name, but like you're coming into the arena. You're about to whip some ass.
Yeah.
What's the song that gets you
Oh, that's good.
ready to go?
That's good.
Because like Hulk Hogan is the like I am a real American, right? That was his.
I
I
don't
think
know.
that was his thing.
You know, right.
I
I was
only know
stuck
that-
playing with friends and reading books.
Yeah. I didn't watch wrestling, but I.
Yeah, sure you did.
Yeah,
That sounds
okay.
like you did.
Maybe like the Beyonce Diva song.
Hell yeah.
That's a good
song.
one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay, we'll cross that off your list.
Okay, Gretchen, how about you?
I would say that's hard. The Beyonce song that
Something from
Kamala
Mental?
is using.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
That's awesome. Yeah, something from a musical probably.
Cool.
76 trombones.
Daddy, can you hear me? Poppy.
And then you would like incorporate it into your costume.
Yeah, so good.
Exactly.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, I have the
Yeah.
so good.
Kevin, what would yours be?
That surely make someone want to beat the crap out of you.
Yeah, totally.
I'd be like Back in Black or like Hell's Bells or
Yeah,
something,
that'd be
something
sweet.
like that.
Yeah.
Just seems like that riff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dire Straits for the
That
Love
would
of
be
Money
good.
is great
Yeah.
too. That's a good one.
Aaron, are these the whitest answers you were anticipating?
Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
Dire Straits. Good Lord.
White from the 70s.
My algorithm is going to be amazing. After
Yeah,
this.
you're going to want to scratch that phone.
Should have told you to leave your phone in the car.
That's right. He's like,
All right, Matt.
I
How
just
about,
downloaded 5 episodes of Friends.
yeah, please, Matt, enlighten us on your
Taylor Swift
musical
suggestion.
taste.
It
I
would
swear to God, if
be-
you go Justin Bieber, I'm jumping across this table.
Well, no, I don't have an answer.
In sync.
Time for Some Action by Redman. I'll tell you why I would pick that. That was Mike Tyson's tunnel music.
Interesting.
And he came out, I don't know if you guys are history buffs, but he was terrifying. So,
I just love that you just equated yourself to Mike Tyson.
yeah,
Like,
this shirt's
Yeah, I was
a
going to
women's
ask,
medium.
so did he play that when he like bit the ear?
Yeah,
Was
the
that the
ears off.
song he came out?
I think probably.
Yeah.
I mean, and one time it came out with it just looks like he was wearing a garbage bag, and I was like, if
Oh,
I was in the
he
ring
did.
waiting
I
for
do
that, I was like,
remember
Jesus Christ, I'd be like, I'd just forfeit. I would
Yeah,
just fall
I'm
down.
out.
Yeah, he was terrifying.
I remember that it was like
Before
you get
the
$1
face
million
tattoo.
to step into the ring with Mike Tyson, and it's like, don't take
Idiots
it.
our age would be like, I'd take a punch to the face from Mike Tyson for $10 million. I was like, well, let me tell you where that $10 million would go.
Right.
Into
Medical
all the food
treatment.
into it. That's right. Into all your food in a tube.
Choose strawberry or vanilla for the rest of your life.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, terrible.
I want to talk a little bit about DEI
Yeah.
and sort of, I mean, that obviously is a passion of yours.
Yes.
Clearly, we believe in diversity on this podcast with 3 white people. Talk to me about what actually is DEI
Yeah.
beyond the headline, beyond the bold font.
Yeah.
What actually, at its grassroots, what is it?
Yeah, so for me, especially coming out of the library space, one thing that I always have talked to folks about is, no matter what you feel about DEI, critical race theory, whatever you want to call it, and whatever feeling you have attached to that, my bigger question to you is, when you talk about libraries, do you think that libraries should be welcoming to all? And universally, no matter how you feel about those other things, people agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can literally take that sentiment and drop it to Metro Parks or any other space, right? I don't think anybody's going
Law.
to
No, I mean, seriously, I mean, it should be for everyone.
Right. Is it for everyone? And I think we all universally agree that everyone deserves to be welcomed, to have human dignity, to be able to have the opportunity to access all of the things and make choices, right? And so that's what is at the heart of it. And we've just have named it different things across history, and there are different feelings that are attached to it. So it's okay if people have strong feelings about DEI or belonging or whatever. It's okay because it's going to morph into something else.
Yeah.
It's
well
fine, because at the end of the day, us as humans, we crave socialization, but we crave the notion of having respect. And that's going to be created no matter what. People will demand it no matter what. And so it's very important that we create that for people to make sure we're creating the space for people to have self-dignity and access and the ability to connect. And because of COVID, it's made it harder because people have had to be able to shelter in and withdraw. But as we bring each other out of our spaces, it is kind of the notion of creating that notion of safety again, of safety through connection.
This is the most time I think you and I have probably spent together. We've had a chance to sort of interact and pass. And but I will say, certainly you have created that in our community.
Oh, thank you.
And you've talked a lot about sort of leading with your heart and, throughout your career. And from the outside looking in, I've seen that as well. So
Thank you.
kudos
Thank
to
you.
you. And
True
I think
gem.
no
Yes.
no
Thank
question
you.
why Gretchen wanted to surprise us with your presence today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you.
Thanks to Erin Baker for being our guest on this episode of the 419. And thank you to WorkSpring and Witro Wealth Management for sponsoring the program. Whether you're planning for retirement, you're thinking about college tuition, or you just have some questions about, is your money working for you the way it should be? Reach out to Tim Witro and his team at Witro Wealth Management. You can find them online at witroadvisors.com. For Gretchen DeBacker and Matt Killam, I'm Kevin Mullen. Thank you for listening to another episode of the 419.